In the previous lesson, we discussed that learning was a relatively permanent change in behavior due to experiences. We discussed classical conditioning and the influences that Ivan Pavlov had on pioneering the study of classical conditioning. Another type of learning is called operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is when we learn to do certain things and not do others as a result of the actions we take. Easily put, people learn from the consequences of their actions. People may learn to engage in a behavior that results in a favorable consequence and avoid behaviors that result in negative consequences. Psychologist B.F. Skinner studied operant conditioning by creating a cage that has since been dubbed the Skinner box or the operant chamber. A rat would be placed in the box and Skinner was able to observe its behavior. The box was designed with a lever that, when pressed, would distribute the food to the rat. At first, this was random luck for the rat, but the rat learned that if he pressed the lever, food would be dispensed. This food was reinforcement for the behavior of pressing the lever. This positive reinforcement increased the chances the rat would repeat the behavior. With operant conditioning, it does not matter how the original behavior occurs, but as long as the subject understands why they are being rewarded, the behavior will become more likely to be repeated. With operant conditioning, there are two types of reinforcers, positive and negative. Positive reinforcers increase the frequency of the behavior. Some examples of positive reinforcement are food, fun activities, and social approval. Negative reinforcers increase the frequency of the behavior when they are removed. These reinforcers are unpleasant in some way. For example, discomfort, fear, and social disapproval. This may be a little confusing. So an example of a negative reinforcer is when we have a piece of food stuck in our teeth. We use floss to remove it. The piece of food was causing discomfort, so it caused you to act to remove it. Most people believe that being positively reinforced is the same as being rewarded, but it is not exactly the same. Rewards increase the likelihood of a behavior, but a reward implies that it will be enjoyed by the subject. For example, your teacher may use a piece of chocolate for anyone that completes a task as a reward. Well, what happens if you don't like chocolate? Is it a reward for you? This is an example of why reinforcers are better scientific terms to be used with regards to changing behavior. While rewards and positive reinforcers are very similar, negative reinforcers and punishments are completely different. Both are usually unpleasant, but negative reinforcers increase the frequency of the behavior, while punishments decrease the frequency of behavior. Strong punishment can rapidly end undesirable behavior, but punishment tends to only work when it is guaranteed. So if punishment is inconsistent, the behavior is likely to be repeated. Operant conditioning is what we use to guide behavior and transform the way people act. One example of this is called shaping. Shaping is a way of teaching complex behaviors by slowly guiding through smaller steps. I played basketball when I was younger. When I learned how to shoot a jump shot, I didn't just grab a ball and start knocking down threes. I had to learn all the steps it took, from footwork to the way the ball was placed in the hand, elbow location, and follow through. I needed to learn all these pieces before I had a complete jump shot. When I finally put all these steps together in the correct sequence, I had completed a chaining sequence. In chaining, you must learn each step of a sequence, and each step must lead to the next until the action is completed. Well, that's all for our lesson on operant conditioning. Thank you so much for watching, and this has been You Will Love Psychology.